Hello and welcome. Today we are diving into a fantastic biological detective story. And it's one that might start with a pretty common, kind of funny mystery you've probably seen in your own home. It's a case that links our pets, a tiny insect, and believe it or not, a surprisingly long stowaway hiding inside. Right, so if you're a dog or cat owner, I'm sure you know exactly what I'm talking about. The classic scoot across the carpet. And yeah, it might look a little silly, but it's usually a sign that something is really bothering them. And the cause of that irritation? Well, that's the very first clue in our investigation. So what is causing all that irritation? Well, it usually looks like something totally harmless, like a little grain of rice or maybe a dried up cucumber seed you might find near where your pet sleeps. But it's not. This is something called a proglottid. It's a single segment of a tapeworm that's just packed with eggs. And get this, these little segments can actually move on their own, which is what causes that intense itch and, you guessed it, the infamous scooting. Okay, so let's put a name to our culprit. The official scientific name is Dipylidium caninum, but you've probably heard it called by its more common names, the flea tapeworm, the cucumber tapeworm, or even the double-pored tapeworm. And as we're about to find out, each one of those names actually tells us a little piece of its story. Now, to really understand this parasite, we have to look at its official file. Dipylidium caninum belongs to the kingdom Animalia, and that's a really important point. We're not talking about a simple single-celled protozoan here. No, this is a metazoan, a complex multicellular animal, a highly evolved flatworm that lives this incredible hidden life. And to survive, it has to live as an endoparasite. That's a key term for our case. Unlike an ectoparasite, like a flea that lives on the outside of an animal, an endoparasite absolutely has to live on the inside. For this tapeworm, that means setting up shop in the small intestine of its host. It has no other way to complete its life cycle. So just how big can this internal resident actually get? Okay, you might want to brace yourself for this. An adult Dipylidium caninum can grow up to 70 centimeters long. That is over 2 feet. It uses a specialized head called a scolex, which is armed with tiny little hooks to anchor itself to the intestinal wall. And that's how it's able to thrive and reach these frankly incredible lengths, all while hidden away inside our pets. So the big question is, how on earth does a creature this large get inside our pets in the first place? Well, that brings us to the real heart of our investigation. Its amazingly cunning and complex life cycle, which, as it turns out, relies on a secret accomplice. This diagram from the CDC lays out the whole process perfectly. Now, the most important thing to understand is that this parasite can't do it alone. It absolutely requires 2 different hosts to survive. It needs what we call a definitive host, like a dog or a cat, and it needs an intermediate host, which is almost always a flea. So let's break this down step by step. It all starts when those proglottids, those cucumber seed things we saw earlier, pass out into the environment. They dry up and crack open, releasing these things called egg packets. One Dutch source had the perfect description for them. They look just like poffertjes in a poffertje span. Like those tiny Dutch pancakes all clustered together? And each one of these packets holds anywhere from 5 to 30 tapeworm eggs. And this is where the accomplice enters the story. But there's a really important twist here that a lot of people miss. You see, it's not the adult fleas that get infected. It can't be. Their mouthparts are built like tiny needles, just for drinking blood. No, it's the flea larvae, which are crawling around in our carpets and bedding, eating all sorts of organic junk that accidentally swallow these tapeworm egg packets. So once it's inside the flea larva, the tapeworm egg hatches and starts to develop into its infectious stage, which is called a cysticercoid. The tapeworm basically hijacks the flea's own life cycle, using it as a kind of protective incubator. So as the larva turns into a pupa and then finally into an adult flea, that tiny tapeworm is just waiting inside, safe and sound, ready for the next step. And the final piece of the puzzle clicks into place during a totally normal, everyday behavior. A dog or cat feels an annoying flea bite, so it turns to groom itself, and in the process, it swallows that infected adult flea. Once it's in the pet's intestine, the flea gets digested, which releases the cysticercoid. It then latches onto the intestinal wall and, in just a few short weeks, grows into a full-sized adult tapeworm. And just like that, the cycle is complete. Okay, so we've cracked the life cycle. We know how it works. But how do we actually catch this parasite in the act? Well, finding the evidence can be a lot trickier than you'd think. Of course, the most obvious signs are the ones we started with, the scooting and spotting those little rice grain segments. But here's the real kicker. Most infections are actually asymptomatic. That's right, an animal can be carrying a full-grown tapeworm and show absolutely zero outward signs. This is a truly stealthy parasite. And this stealthiness is made even worse by the challenges of diagnosis. For years, the go-to method for checking for worms was a fecal flotation test. But as this quote points out, that method is just not reliable for Dipylidium caninum. And why is that? Well, it's because those little Pofferchet egg packets are super heavy. They just sink to the bottom of the test tube, so they're completely missed.
This chart really shows how far diagnostics have come. That old flotation method, its sensitivity is extremely low. But modern tools like the coproantigen ELISA test, they are an absolute game changer. They don't even look for the eggs. Instead, they detect specific proteins that are shed by the adult worm itself. This allows vets to find these hidden infections with incredibly high accuracy.
So finding the parasite is one thing, but getting rid of it, and more importantly, keeping it away for good, that requires a real strategy. It's time to close this case. And prevention is becoming more and more critical. There's a really interesting modern challenge, especially somewhere like the Netherlands, with the importation of rescue animals. Now, it's a wonderful thing to do, but these animals can sometimes bring parasites with them from regions where drug resistance is a growing problem. This means there's a real risk of importing new strains of tapeworms that are resistant to our standard treatments, which makes prevention our absolute best line of defense. So the main takeaway here is that prevention is everything. And luckily, it's a pretty straightforward 3-step plan. First, you treat any existing infection with medication from your vet. Simple enough, but that's not the whole story. The single most critical step is number 2, consistent year-round flea control on your pet. If there are no fleas to act as that intermediate host, you completely break the tapeworm's life cycle. And of course, you also have to treat your home environment to get rid of any lurking flea larvae. And really, this focus on proactively breaking the life cycle is where the entire future of parasite control is headed. And that leads us to the final clue in our story. This shift toward prevention is being reflected in the very latest science. For example, a new indication was recently approved for a combination medication. It's now officially recognized not just for treating, but for preventing Dipylidium caninum infections. And the genius of it is that the drug doesn't even target the worm itself. It kills the fleas so fast that the tapeworm's life cycle gets shut down before transmission can even happen. It's a truly proactive prevention-first strategy. And all of this brings us to one final big-picture question. The story of Dipylidium caninum is really a perfect little example of a concept called One Health. This idea that the health of animals, the health of humans, and the health of our environment are all deeply, inextricably linked. The health of our pets directly affects the parasites living in our homes, which in some very rare cases can even infect young children. And it all starts with a single flea. All of the information that we've gone over in this explainer was compiled using a Gemini deep search. If you want to dig deeper into the science yourself, we've put together a comprehensive list of all the sources and studies for you in the Notebook LM document, which is linked down below. So if you enjoyed solving this biological mystery with us, please subscribe to the channel for more explainers just like this one. We would absolutely love to hear your thoughts or any questions you might have in the comments. Thanks so much for watching.